Did you make sure to?
It was under 24. I mean 30 seconds. So I added
Oh,
that extra
cool,
thing.
cool. Okay, cool.
Oh,
Right
you
on.
didn't notice that? Oh my gosh.
No, I didn't have the notification on. I'm attorney Michael Ehline. I'm an attorney licensed in California and Texas, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the case that's going on over in Illinois right now, and also motivate you guys who think that you can't stay in shape. So I'm out here with my son Gunner, and we're headed over to the park. And this is in particular important for lawyers because most lawyers that I know are out of shape, and they're probably amongst the biggest excuse makers on the planet. And so if you want to be in shape, stop making up excuses that you have a full caseload, that you have too many files, that you're too stressed out. You just have to get up early in the morning and head over to the park. Find yourself a jungle gym or something like that. We found a really cool park that has monkey bars so we can do pull-ups. Remember that pull-ups are your second largest muscle group, so that's really important. Pull-ups, your back, your latissimus dorsi is your second largest muscle group, so that's really important as far as burning fat while you sleep. And although I'm older now and I'm definitely carrying a little bit too much body fat since I blew out my back, I'm trying to get back into it. And I have my son over here who wakes me up at dark 30 to force me to go work out with him. And he's training for judo, trying to stay in shape. He's also doing a little bit of Muay Thai when he gets some time. And tonight I'm going to take him to judo because he's missed a bunch of classes because we got family in town. But that's how it works, guys. If you want to stay in shape, you've got to be disciplined. Discipline equals freedom. And if you want to burn fat while you sleep, you need to build muscle. So I'm doing my workout a little bit late today. It's already getting hot out here in Summerlin, Nevada. But I have a pretty cool show set up for you. We're going to do some workout routines, probably do some pull-ups, some push-ups, and some stretching routines. And while I'm walking over to the park, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Illinois. So, lucky for us, for whatever reason, the Trump DOJ is sympathetic to the Second Amendment, more so, I think, than any presidential administration in the history of the United States. And because I'm a Second Amendment rights lawyer, and I'm friends with Dick Heller of DC versus Heller and Heller versus DC and its iterations, this comes with great joy for me, because before I leave this earth, I want to make sure that you all understand that a government that doesn't trust its people, especially with firearms, is a government that can never be trusted. So hopefully you guys can hear me. A bunch of 5x5s if you're joining the show tonight or today, this morning, and you can hear me. Obviously, if you can't hear me, this whole show is worthless. But I'm sacrificing a part of my routine this morning so I can bring a live show to you before it gets too hot out here. So in this particular case, there is an Illinois, the blue states are constantly trying to curtail our rights to keep and bear arms. Hey, Gloria, good seeing you, ma'am. I'm so glad that you joined me. Please make sure to notify all of our other people, Gloria, because for some reason, YouTube, and we know that it's Marxist Democrat run, right? Never notifies any of my subscribers when I'm live. See, I wonder why. Well, we're going to fight back against the George Soros agenda anyways and make sure that you guys know about your unalienable God-granted right to keep and bear arms. And again, like I said earlier, Gloria, a government that doesn't trust its people with firearms is a government undeserving of trust. And their state actors like social media and Silicon Valley and all that, they open up a huge Pandora's box, especially once Elon Musk was able to buy Twitter, to allow us a real free speech platform. And you'll notice that Blue Sky now, because they no longer have de facto control and they don't have government agents constantly censoring Twitter was unleashed. And now it's spilling over to YouTube, where people like me finally are able to say what we need to say. But we know that their agents inside of YouTube and stuff constantly try to find ways to curtail people like me from growing their channels. So it's nice to have you guys, Gloria. That's great. I'm glad you did. And you agree. That's awesome. So anyways, let's get into it. So this Illinois assault weapons legislation, PICA, basically says that assault weapons, what they call assault weapons, what the left calls assault weapons, which is the most commonly used, primarily the most commonly used rifle or firearm in the United States of America, an AR-15. And this issue was already foreclosed in several other Supreme Court cases. So it's shocking to me that these leftist judges keep on pushing this same bullshit. But the bottom line is that historically, if a weapon has been in common use, it's not supposed to be curtailed. And obviously an AR-15 is no different than any other semi-automatic rifle. No different than a Mini 14, except that it's got a pistol grip and a couple other features that make it easier to shoot, less recoil, lighter, more effective, so you can use it to defend yourself. And so what the left has been trying to do is limit how many rounds you can have, take away your ability to drop magazines. So making it to where you have to have your magazine welded into the mag well, for example, to make it less effective and harder to use, because they say that protects the government, right? If they make it harder for you to use your weapon, to switch out a magazine, to have enough rounds to where if you're under fire and you're stressed out and your heart's pumping, they make it harder for you to be able to efficiently and effectively use that firearm. And that's what the Illinois PICA law is about. It's basically copying California's Roberti Roos ban times 1,000. And the idea is any weapon that has the features, good seeing you, Roger, any weapon that has the features of one of these so-called assault weapons, and by the way, an AR-15 is not an assault weapon. It's called an Armalite 15. And it has nothing to do with assault rifle. It's just an Armalite 15. And what that term comes from is a military term from years ago that has to do with the weapon that can be switched back and forth from semi-auto to 3-round burst or full auto. But the left has constantly called it an assault weapon because they know that it scares single women in particular. And they use them as their voter base to strip you and I of our fundamental, unalienable rights to keep and bear arms. So in this case, and for those of you just joining me, I appreciate it. Here, we'll cut through this parking lot, Gunny. We'll go this way this time. That way we'll stay away from all the looky-loos trying to figure out why I'm holding a gimbal. So, in any event, this PICA case in Illinois is really interesting because Judge McGill at the lower court, federal circuit, I think it's 7th Circuit, ruled against PICA. And of course the government, as you know, the leftist, Marxist, communist government of Illinois doesn't like that. And so the plaintiff in this case brought an emergency, I think it was a cert or some kind of an emergency motion, I can't remember right now off the top of my head, to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court, as I recall, denied cert on an emergency basis. But interestingly enough, Justice Thomas, in his opinion, or his dictum at least, said, look, if the state of Illinois really thinks that they're going to be able to ban the most commonly used rifle, limit how many rounds someone can have in their magazine, and all this other stuff, this is a case that's going to need to be coming back up here and immediately ruled upon, because this is complete bunk. We've already ruled in multiple cases that people have the right to have commonly used weapons, which started with the Heller case, my friend Dick Heller. And then ultimately in its iterations has been decided upon and ruled upon that you can definitely own an AR. And you can definitely have a standard capacity magazine, which the left calls high capacity magazines, which is ridiculous. So it's already been decided. And so what happened? Well, these lefty prosecutors and lefty government attorneys come up with these other stupid excuses to try to find a way to strip you of your fundamental, unalienable right to keep and bear arms, as well as firearms accessories. Good seeing you, McCountine 3. Nice having you in the chat this morning. So, what we're going to talk about is that case and about what's going on. But to kind of move forward, the Trump DOJ has now joined the plaintiff in this matter, saying, we agree that PICA is unconstitutional. So you have a sea change. The Biden DOJ was joining all of these bullshit anti-American Marxist communist arguments that the leftist states were proffering forward, that oh yes, people should only be able to have like one round in their magazine. These weapons are weapons of mass destruction, and their military use. And because they're military use, that means they should be illegal, because the only thing you need a gun for is for hunting and target practice, which is, we know, not true. If you look at the Miller case in District of Columbia versus Heller, as well as the history of our Constitution, our founding fathers intended that all males 16 and over were automatically members of the irregular militia. And it was our duty as men to provide protection and common defense for our families. And because of that, we're actually supposed to have military-style weapons to be able to do that. And that's a fact. So for all of you who've been brainwashed at these Marxist college campuses, welcome to my channel, where you can learn a little bit about the real history of this country. Our founding fathers were suspect of a standing army, and that's why there was a compromise to make sure the army would have to be refunded every 2 years in an appropriations bill. The only permanently authorized military force that we have is the Navy, and of course, the Marine Corps, our expeditionary forces. So other than that, our government, especially George Washington, wanted us to stay out of foreign entanglements, and they definitely did not want a centralized bank. So now that we're here at the park, we're at the jungle gym, we're gonna do a little workout for you. Anybody who wants to support my channel, I encourage you to buy subscriptions as opposed to just throwing me super chats and stuff, because subscriptions help us get more people who are like-minded patriots. All right, Gunnar, let's do some push-ups. Get next to me so we can get in the shot, so these people can see, especially you men who have boys. Maybe your wife passed away or something. Good seeing you, Derek, Eric. Thank you, Gloria. Yeah, well, people are probably tired. It's fatiguing what our government's doing. To see how this communist Muslim guy took over in, what was it, New York? And now we've determined, at least some people are claiming, that he actually, in order to get his citizenship, he lied about his terrorist intentions and communist intentions to overthrow our capitalist-style government. All right, Gunnar, let's go ahead and get 20 out. You ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Work with me. 4. Up and down with me. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And stretch it out. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Stretch out your shoulders. There you go. Give your stomach a stretch. Look up towards the sky. There you go. All right, do some flutter kicks. Flutter kicks. Side by side. All right, do some judo rolls like this. Since my back's jacked up, I can't do toe touchers anymore, but just like this, watch. You go all the way back, touch your toes to the ground, and I'll go as far back as I can without blowing my back out. You getting hurt? All right, let's come back and stretch our stomach. Stretch out that belly. All right, let's do some freaking bent over rows. Not bent over rows, but standing rows. Starting with that one.
What am I supposed to do again?
Here, I'll do the first set. Yep. All right, go ahead, man. Give me 20. 2, 3, blow out when you come up. 4, when you come up, blow out. 6, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, blow out. I think that's 9, 10, breathe. 11, 12, breathe. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Don't jerk on the back. 20, nice and slow coming back. So what you're doing is when you're coming down, you're jerking, and that's going to rip out your lat muscles. That's not good. You want to do everything in slow, controlled movements. So you guys hear that? You want to do slow, controlled movements when you're doing your back exercises. Absolutely the right stuff, 80, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Good seeing you, Jim Peacock. Well, I don't know, Gloria. I mean, let them say what they got to say unless they... I mean, the idea is we want to... My channel isn't about winning over people. We want to win people over to our position. We just want to win people over to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and natural law. And you know that there's a lot of communist Chinese bots who are working hand in hand with the Communist Marxist Democrat Party to destroy our fundamental unalienable rights. And we want to try to separate those bots from people who may be teetering and wanting freedom and liberty. So, and D'Angelo Jones, I think different positions are good as long as you understand that America is a special place. So, all right, so Gunnar, while you do that, I'm gonna try to crank out some regular pull-ups really quick. I'll try to do 6 for you. And give me a bunch of ones for my son waking me up and forcing me to come and work out, guys. That's legit. That's a good son. All right. One more.
Don't break anything.
All right, your turn, buddy. As you guys know, I have a pretty bad back injury. I have sciatica, so this is really hard for me. All right, Gunny. Can you do them on your own? You want help? You want an assist?
Why can't I do it, man?
Well, cuz it takes a long time to build your back muscles. Let's go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, push. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's it. Got it?
I'm destroying my hands.
It's all right. You're going to build calluses on your hands. All right, so Gunny, do some Newaza drills, and I'm going to talk to my audience, okay? So my son's training to be an Olympic judoka, and I'm trying to teach him the fundamental concepts of honor and discipline, respect for your elders. Biology, like men can't be women, there shouldn't be tampon machines in the boys' room. Men shouldn't be competing in female athletics or sharing locker rooms with women. What a fucking joke. All right, do your Newaza drills. I'm gonna use this, so don't use this one. Yeah, that communist who allegedly won the Democrat primary. I mean, after they flooded the country with illegals, and now we know that communist China has flooded the country with driver's licenses to make sure that Democrat candidates get elected using vote by mail. Good seeing you, Mr. Osgood. So again, I've got an important update for you on the rifle and magazine ban challenge in Illinois, where Illinois is trying to ban rifles and magazines. And of course, my side argued that it's unconstitutional. And now the state of Illinois wants an additional, hold on a minute. I think they want an additional 60 days to respond. So they don't need an additional 60 days. The Constitution is clear. And D'Angelo, I don't know why everyone has to be a communist that opposes Trump or supports a scam like vote by mail that makes it easy for people to put dead people on absentee ballots, or allows Chinese communist nationals to use fake driver's licenses that were printed by communist China. I don't know why that is. Give me a bunch of ones for you patriots who think we need to go back to a normal voting system where you have to go in and vote in person and show an ID to prove that you're an American citizen, or show some way to prove your citizenship so illegals and dead people can stop voting and we can return America back to a constitutional republic. If the left wants to win, let them win on the issues, not on scam and skullduggery. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. All right, so, and by the way, make sure to like and subscribe and, and double tap that screen, guys. Now, the so-called assault weapons ban and magazine restrictions that I just talked about, interestingly, we got support from Trump's DOJ on this, and they filed an amicus brief, and they argued that state rifle magazine bans are in fact a violation of the Second Amendment. And currently the state of Illinois has appealed these cases up to the Seventh Circuit, arguing that Judge McGlynn's prior decision and lower court decisions, which strike down the PICA in Illinois, should be reversed by the Seventh Circuit. However, I mentioned that the Trump administration jumped in, and now they're supporting the argument in Judge McGlynn's decision, and they're saying that his decision should actually stand, and that the Seventh Circuit should find that the rifle and magazine ban is unconstitutional. Of course they should. Okay, then the state wants an additional 30 days to respond, which they're not entitled to. So, but they wanted, and they always want additional time. But when you and I as a pro-per litigant go in there and want additional time, we never get it, right? But for some reason, if it's a lefty prosecutor or government official, they always want to bend over backwards to help them strip you and I of our unalienable rights. It's really shocking to me. So we'll see what happens with this additional 30-day request that they want. But the Trump administration and other amicus briefs were raised in support of this case. Now, originally this case faced multiple challenges and went to district courts, and those district courts issued preliminary injunctions against this stupid ban, temporary halting enforcement of PICA. However, the state of Illinois appealed those preliminary injunctions to the Seventh Circuit, and the Seventh Circuit, of course, upheld those bans. And that led to multiple cases seeking emergency relief to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court denied emergency review, which had me and a lot of other natural law advocates and people who support the Constitution upset, thinking, oh my God, the Supreme Court's going to rule against us. But no, they wanted to make sure that there was a final decision. And so ultimately, in that return, Justice Thomas made a statement saying that if the Seventh Circuit ultimately allows Illinois to ban America's most common civilian rifle, we can and should review that decision. And of course, we know that probably 3 or 4 of the Marxist appointed justices are going to rule against it because they don't want you and I to have firearms. And so once that case reaches a final judgment, Justice Thomas says the court must not permit the Seventh Circuit to relegate the Second Amendment to a second-class right. So we know that the Supreme Court in the past has upheld the First Amendment. We know they've upheld the Fourth Amendment, but they've never explicitly stated that the Second Amendment is a fundamental right. They've never said it, right? So that's a problem, and we need to get that on the record. And I think that the DC versus Heller case definitely lent credence to the fact that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. So that statement from Justice Thomas and that warning to the Seventh Circuit, while emergency petitions were pending, I think lent a lot of credence to our argument as constitutionalists and people who support the unalienable right to keep and bear arms. So Gunny, are you done training? Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna go head over to a bench really quick, guys, because there's other people over here working out and I don't want to mess up their workout. Sorry we got here late today, guys. I've been exhausted. I've been working on a couple of appellate briefs. So let's get over here. All right, let's go head over to the freaking park bench area. All right. So how you guys doing today? So we just did a quick little workout, and I've got a torn calf muscle, or at least a pulled calf muscle, as well as sciatica. So it's been pretty hard for me to get all this stuff squared away over here. Is that the Marine dude over there? No, not the right guy. The air winger that we met the other day? Different guy?
Where do you see him?
Standing over there with his buddy, the bald-headed dude.
I don't think that's him.
It's not him?
He looks shorter.
All right. Hey, what's up, Right Stuff? Good seeing you, man.
That. Here?
No, we're going to go over here, undercover here. And of course, we've got a comment here saying, only the military should have assault weapons, period. Okay, first of all, an AR-15 is not an assault weapon. I can tell you probably went to Cal Berkeley or were brainwashed by some Marxist governor or senator to think that the most commonly used semi-automatic centerfire rifle in the world, the AR-15, is an assault weapon. It's not. It's a rifle. But if you look at the history of the Second Amendment, all males 16 and over are required to be part of the militia, and they're entitled to own, maintain, and make sure that their weapon is in good order. So you don't know what you're talking about, and if you don't like it, you can move to Cuba, because this is America. Stop trying to turn my country into a communist country like what you want for this country. All right. So Gunnar, have a seat here. Let's learn a little bit about the Constitution. You sit next to me, so you can ask questions if you want to learn about the Bill of Rights and our fundamental unalienable rights. I agree with you, derelict Eric. Okay, so the lower court judge found once again that PICA is unconstitutional and must be struck down upon return. And again, Illinois, the Marxist government of Illinois, appealed it once again to the Seventh Circuit. And they want the Seventh Circuit to reverse what Judge, I think it's McGill, said, arguing that AR-15s and magazines, like standard capacity magazines that can fire over 20 rounds, for example, should be banned. So, and they also, along with the California Marxist government, are trying to say that even accessories for a firearm, since they're accessories, they're not part of the firearm, so they can be banned. So as a result, what they're trying to do, say hi to everybody, Gunny.
Yeah.
Give me a bunch of ones for Gunny joining us. We'll do that in a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, if you want, you can go out there and throw it up in the sky, and it'll come right back to you. Like throw it up high and try to catch it. Try to get your catching drills down.
Sure.
All right. So we're going to do some Frisbee in a second. I promised him we'd do that. So I'm going to try to blast through this brief really quick that I created for you. Not with the aid of ChatGPT, by the way. I'm an actual lawyer. I've got over 20 years in practice. And although I do personal injury law, like catastrophic injury claims to support my family, I use a lot of the proceeds for that to assist other Second Amendment rights lawyers pro bono because of my vast experience, knowledge, and skill in understanding the unalienable, God-granted fundamental right to keep and bear arms that are in common, ordinary use for civilians, not just the military. All right, so ultimately, yes. So what the governments are trying to do in the blue states are to outlaw firearms accessories. So they're trying to say, well, you know, iron sights, they're an accessory, so they can be banned. Triggers, they're an accessory, so they can be banned. Sound suppressors, which protect your ears and make a weapon more efficient and easy to use so you can hear commands and not have your hearing blown out like mine is from being in the Marine Corps, are accessories, and therefore they should be able to be banned. In other words, they're trying to parcel out weapons so they can ban weapons completely, saying that they're just parts and accessories, and therefore the government has a right to ban them. So we're definitely not supporting that. We see the writing on the wall. And D'Angelo Jones, if you read the actual Bible, the Bible talks a lot about picking up your sword and fighting off tyranny. So again, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So let's get back into it. So that's assuming that you're a religious person, but it's always funny how Marxist Democrats always want to talk about the Bible when they're trying to push rainbow flags and the brainwashing of kindergartners into thinking that men are women and women are men, and they want to put tampon machines in the boys' room, which is basically a Baal Moloch cult, which they're trying to push on our children. And again, that's why I push homeschooling and homesteading and creating parallel systems to get away from this nonsense that you're trying to force on our children. For those of you who actually support parents, give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So in any event, the lower court judge, I think it's McGlynn, once again said that AR-15s and magazines and a lot of these attachments are not militaristic weapons, but that they are useful in military service. But of course the left says they're not protected by the Second Amendment because they're military, even though we know that the whole point of you being able to be part of the militia is that you have a military a small arm, so it could be used in national defense as well as defense of yourself and others. So in any event, we've seen similar arguments from other states like Communist California trying to protect these types of bans, and now this one has been appealed up to the horrible Seventh Circuit, who again has already ruled that the interlocutory preliminary injunction of the stage that they don't want them. And they don't want to have the case go up to the Supremes for a decision on the final merits. They're saying basically that, you know, we need to ban AR-15s, period. As well as any kind, and ultimately they want to ban all semi-automatic centerfire rifles. But in any event, because the Trump administration has now joined us in an amicus brief, as well as other organizations, that now the government argues, in a reversal on Sleepy Joe, remember Sleepy Joe? That because of the Supreme Court's landmark decision that weapons in common use are protected by the Second Amendment, that, hey, good seeing you 10-time shooters. It's about time we had a couple patriots on the channel. That the states need to stop treating the Second Amendment as a second-class right, all right? So that's the bottom line. Now, there's not a different body of rule for constitutional rights. Constitutional rights are constitutional rights, and they shouldn't be treated differently. And the Second Amendment is among one of our most powerful and necessary rights, because without the Second Amendment, you can't protect the other ones. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So every state got the message, though, from the Supreme Court that this isn't something that should be happening. But Illinois doesn't care, and obviously you saw the new Marxist guy get elected in, or at least he'll be able to go on the runoff, I guess, against the Republican. And in New York, Republicans don't win, so we know that we're going to have a new Muslim, anti-Constitution Marxist who believes in wealth redistribution as the answer to our problems instead of getting a job and being able to provide for yourself and your family. So we know he's going to be against the Second Amendment as well. So they think the only people who should have weapons are the government. I wonder why. So in any event, the state of Illinois, in my earnest opinion, violated the Supreme Court's clear directive that states cannot prohibit arms that are in common use by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. And the earlier appeal reviewing a preliminary injunction against PICA, their court held that the act was likely constitutional and reversed, but this court made crystal clear that its opinion was just preliminary. And so the subject they got on to say was, after final judgment, there are 3 good reasons why the court should reverse and affirm the district court's injunction. And what they're saying is, well, let's just get into it. So the Supreme Court's Second Amendment case law that existed at the time the Second Amendment, sorry guys, I'm a little off because my notes aren't that good, but let's get into it. Multiple Supreme Court justices have made clear that they disagree with the lower court's opinions, and that the court is likely to grant cert the next time the Illinois courts decide they want to try and ban, and they're not assault weapons, guys. They're semi-automatic center fire rifles, okay? It's the left that calls them assault weapons because they like to give it a scary name so they can ban it. They always do that. Semantics is the tool of the left and the Marxist-run education system. So in any event, the district court held a multi-day bench trial, and they heard significant evidence regarding the issue in the case, and they made factual findings that show the act violates the Second Amendment as applied to semi-automatic firearms and its attachments, right? The attachments like a magazine, okay? And that these are weapons that were in common use by the American people, and if they're being used for lawful purposes like self-defense, that the appellate court, the 7th District Appellate Court, 7th Circuit Appellate Court, should reverse and remand back to the district court and allow the district court's original ruling to stand. But we know these are Democrat justices, so good luck, right? So in any event, rifles and semi-automatic firearms are in fact protected arms under the Second Amendment, and the Supreme Court has recently issued decisions in Smith and Wesson PLCA case and other cases where you had Kagan and Thomas and other justices, even Kagan, acknowledging that AR-15s are in common use and for lawful purposes. And they also point out that AR-15s are not uniquely dangerous, guys. They're not uniquely dangerous, and they really should be treated the same as anything else, as any other kind of semi-automatic weapon, including handguns. And they are recognized arms, and these types of rifles should be treated the same way. And they also point out that militaristic weapon test used by the 7th Circuit is improper. And why is that? Because the militia is entitled to have militaristic style weapons. That's the whole point of you being a natural born free person, is that you're automatically part of the irregular militia as soon as you're born and turn 16 in this country. And so because of that, in the Bruin case and others, they point out that the text of the Second Amendment does not support that type of Marxist analysis. The history or tradition of our nation is in fact that the Second Amendment makes it clear that people were actually expected to provide their own firearms for service in the militia. And those types of firearms that they provided for themselves were used for things like self-defense, but also potentially military use. So even saying that militaristic weapons are not protected goes directly against the purposes of the Second Amendment, and that the Illinois PICA law violates that Second Amendment because of that. And also magazines, you know, where they're trying to say you can only have like 5 rounds, 10 rounds, one round, and you have to have it attached to the mag well. It makes it harder and more difficult for you to use your weapon in case you needed to use it in self-defense. But yet law enforcement and other people, they don't have those restrictions. So why is it that government employees have more rights than we the people? Can anybody put that in the comments for me? So, and I am also a Texas attorney, so I'll definitely come and hit the range with you anytime 357 SIG beats 9 mil. Now, the court has recognized that the Second Amendment protections extend to certain important core rights to possess arms in self-defense, and the Trump administration now argues that although these activities may not literally involve keeping of arms, as a fundamental concept, it is a protected right under the Second Amendment, and applying that principle to the act, the Second Amendment protects firearms attachments like magazines, triggers, sound suppressors to make them safer and more effective for use, like shooting blow your ears out, like I said earlier. And right now, the state of Illinois basically is getting an idea of President Trump's strong stance on protecting the Second Amendment. So right now, the state of Illinois has asked for another 30 days to respond, and they say they need more time to address all these issues raised by the plaintiffs, and all these new briefs filed by the Trump administration and all others who filed amicus briefs. And so, again, the state of Illinois requested an additional 30 days and a stay in the order, and the amicus briefs are over 200 pages, and they exceed the length of the response. Wait, stand by. No, I'm sorry. The government's briefs apparently exceed over 200 pages. They're really doing everything they can to take away your right to keep and bear arms. So I'll be done in, give me like 5 minutes, all right?
Sure.
All right. So in any event, what the Trump administration has said is that they stand against the PICA law, and that the Seventh Circuit has now controlled the case, and it probably needs to go up because the Seventh Circuit, the Seventh District Court of Appeals is hostile to the fundamental unalienable right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment, and it's going to end up at the Supreme Court with that warning that Justice Thomas issued, that it needs to be reviewed because it's obvious what the lower court, he's already said it's obvious what the lower court's doing violates the Second Amendment. So it's pretty unbelievable. So let's get into it. So when it comes to the issue of rifle and magazine bans, I'll even note that Kavanaugh said it's going to be probably within the next couple of terms that they're going to address these types of bans if the Seventh Circuit continues to play these games. So the Supreme Court is eyeing this. They mentioned that in the Snope and Ocean State tactical case that they're keeping an eye on these Illinois cases, and this could be one that eventually makes its way to the Supreme Court. All right. So if Illinois and the Seventh Circuit continues to defy the Supreme Court's earlier rulings in Brune and DC versus Heller, I look to a reversal, especially since the Trump DOJ has finally joined people like me in their fight to preserve the Second Amendment for we the people. And the PICA challenge is one that I think we have a good chance on getting up to the Supremes before the Democrats are able to put in a couple more Marxist justices to where we can fight this. Now, we're not going to allow the Seventh Circuit to relegate the Second Amendment to a second-class right. And although the Supreme Court denied review initially, it's because they wanted to have comedy in some kind of a decision or a jurisdictional split before they heard the case. So, and I don't know if comedy was the right word, but they wanted to make sure there was some kind of a split and they had some kind of a final ruling between these different arguments before it goes up. But we already know, based on the statement from Justice Thomas and his warning to the Seventh Circuit, the Marxist, what many people say, Seventh Circuit, in the emergency petition, that the Supremes are more than likely going to strike down this law once it gets to them. And because of that, the rifle and magazine is obviously going to be found unconstitutional. In the state of Illinois, because they're trying to push their reply brief out another month, is just, all they're trying to do is wait till midterms so they can get more lefty justices in power who are going to rule against your and my fundamental right to keep and bear arms. So or for one of the Supreme Court justices to pass away, because that's their end game. They want to get another Marxist justice up there who can't even define the difference between female and male biology. That is their end game. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So I don't think they need an additional 30 days. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me. And again, the state of Illinois has appealed the case up to the Seventh Circuit once again. They're arguing that Judge McGlynn's prior decision striking down PICA should be reversed by the Seventh Circuit. And like I mentioned, the Trump administration jumped in supporting this case, supporting our case of supporting the Second Amendment, and that Judge McGlynn's decision should actually stand, and the Seventh Circuit should find that it's unconstitutional, as well as the Supremes. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much all I have on that. I'm gonna throw some Frisbee with my son. Hey, Aunt Pisano, good seeing you. So if you guys wanna watch me throwing some Frisbee with my son, I'm gonna set up my cam over here. Are the sprinklers still on over there, buddy?
Nah.
All right, let's do some Frisbee. Why don't you get out there so I can set up my cam? Because I'm gonna try to do a wide angle so we can, give me a bunch of ones if you guys wanna see me throw some Frisbee with Gunny, and I'll flip it around for you. Stand by. All right. Give me 1 second, Gunny. So get out there a little bit further for me, all right? Give me 1 second, guys. We'll set this up. I don't have it on tracking, so it's just going to be me and him. Okay, so Gunny, get out to that park bench over there. Grab my stuff too, please. And we'll set it over here on the grass. All right, so I'm trying to shrink it so we can get you in the picture here. You can see me trying to exercise some of my God-granted rights to be with my son. So go stand over by that barbecue over there. All right, I'm trying to set up my landmark here. A little bit further out. Good to go. All right, guys, here we go. As you can see, we both suck at throwing the Frisbee, guys. There you go, Henry. She got her phone number. Got her phone number. Yeah. Take a look over here. Take the phone number.
Too old?
Yeah.
Okay. Why are you even mentioning that? Like, you're weird, bro. Like, why are you weird?
Okay, whatever. I'm just messing around. All right, you want to carry the pack? Help me out?
Alright.
All right, guys. So I tore my calf muscle the other day. I'm getting old. So ask me any questions you want to ask me. If you're a patriot and you support the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and you think that all of the amendments matter, not just the one that the commies like. And as we walk back to the house, I'll try to answer them. Again, I'm Michael Ehline. Make sure to double tap that screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save these videos for later, because we never know when the Orwellian thought police that run these social media sites are going to take down the channel. So do everything you can to support my channel and save, and make sure to buy memberships, subscriptions, as well as throw me even if it's a $1.99 super chat, do that. This is a donations only channel. And although I run a law practice to make my income, my kids help me with the channel, and I try to set aside money for them so I can teach them how to be entrepreneurs, so they don't have to be professional baristas at Starbucks. Give me a bunch of ones if you like that their father's teaching them how to run a business so they don't have to work for the government or one of their corporate iterations. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Hold on. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna look for some questions here. Yeah, I agree with you, Joseph. Zero gun control. The only control that we need with our guns is better muzzle discipline, hand-eye coordination, and better training. And that reminds me, just so you guys know, well-regulated, if you look at the historical definition, simply means in good order or well-trained. So yes, it's true. If you're going to keep and bear arms for common defense of property and country, you need to be well-trained. And so I'm going to have one of my buddies come on in the next few weeks who's an inactive Navy SEAL and teach you a little bit about weapons safety, because I only have about a little less than a year in the Marine Corps. I was boarded out. I have a 70%, I'm 70% disabled from the Marine Corps. And most people think that you have to serve like 20 years to be an authority, but I'm a firearms instructor as well. And I teach a CQB class out in Nevada. And I will have someone who you are going to give more credence to, because most people think you have to have, again, like a lot of experience. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, I've got over 20 years now as a practicing attorney, and most people give credence to my 20 years in practice over someone who's only been practicing law for a year. But the difference is that my firearms training extends well before and well beyond my time in the Marines. So from the age of about 6 years old, I was going to the gun range with my dad, and I was trained by Marine primary marksmanship instructors as a child. So I was already an expert shot before I went in. And then when I got out, once my knee healed up somewhat, I got back into firearms in 3 gun competitions. Even though I have disabilities, you know, if you take enough Motrin, as you guys from the Corps know, you can at least make it through a course. So if you have any questions about firearm safety, about training or discipline, please ask away as I walk back to the fob. So let's see here. Thanks, Gloria. Hey, Gloria says, great job, Gunner.
Thanks.
They're impressed with your Frisbee throwing. Yeah, make sure to, hey, look, guys, anybody who throws me a $1.99 super chat right now, I'll answer any question that you have that I know about the Second Amendment. I'll put your question to the front of the line. Good seeing you, 7 Quarter. I do appreciate you guys joining me today. Oh, you're welcome, Gloria. So that's an interesting point that Gloria brings up. People say thank you for your service, but when I grew up, all my next door neighbors were military vets, a lot of them Marines. So I grew up in the Orange County, Anaheim Hills, Newport Beach area, back and forth, because my parents were divorced, so I'd go back and forth living with them. Pretty much a miserable childhood, not having both your parents together. And by the way, that's another thing that I recommend is hold off on getting married, you men in particular, until you find a woman that you're equally yoked with, someone who's going to give the love and matronly affection that your children deserve, so you can keep that family together. Super important. And Seven Carter says, yeah, man, glad to see you out and about with the kid. Yeah, man, that's what it's all about, brother. That's what I try to teach you guys. Don't let the public schools rear your children. Homeschool your kids and get them as far away from them as possible. Absolutely. Good morning, sir. And get out there like that gentleman right there and get yourselves in shape. Even if you're not eating right, like I haven't been since I got hit with this really bad sciatica, do your best to get out there and work out. Stay mobile, stay active. Get yourself a patriotic Punisher shirt. And then on the weekends when you have time, get to the gym and get your bench press in. If your back's still okay, get the squats in. Get yourself squared away. And so we got a comment here from Amelia Elizabeth 71. I lost my husband 2 years ago after 32 years of marriage. Oh my gosh. I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm hoping that it was not I'm hoping it wasn't voluntary, because once you get older and you have that relationship with someone, even if you fall on hard times or have disagreements, one thing you men need to understand. Hey, good morning, Rohan. One thing that you men need to understand is this, that women go through major hormonal changes as they get older. And they go through perimenopause and menopause, and it absolutely changes them. And that's why I definitely believe, yeah, Rohan, I served in the Corps, yeah. They're gonna change, and so having children can be the glue that bind you together, especially if you have a strong relationship with your kids. Even if you don't get along with your wife and vice versa, always remember that your children need you. And if they see you separate, it destroys their world. And so you want to make sure that once you have children, that you're a selfless parent, and that you make sure that they see that their mom and dad were honorable people. And despite the fact that they changed hormonally and they suffered injuries and had issues, that they see that their parents stayed together. And it's a really, really good thing for kids to have that. And so tonight, I'll be taking Gunnar to judo, and I think I'll be taking him to a jiu-jitsu studio where he trains judo on Saturday, and then he'll have the rest of the weekend to chill out. But it's really, really important for you men. That's why I recommend having your own business, so you're not a slave to someone else. So you can have that opportunity to be with your kids. And that if you're gonna get married, have as many kids as you can. Super important. Don't be selfish. Just do that. I think it's really good. So does anybody have any questions about the Second Amendment or the God-granted, natural, unalienable right to keep and bear arms as I'm here? Because I'm going to be working on quite a few briefs today, and I'm not going to have a lot of time to answer any questions. Hold on a minute. And give me some 5x5s if you can hear me, because I am in a drop zone right now. I'm just glad he cared enough to have life insurance. Oh, that's good. Good for you. Well, I'll tell you something, guys. For me, the best life insurance policy, besides good health, is cryptocurrencies, gold and silver. So, I bought Bitcoin when it was super cheap, and now it's gone up to 106 or 107,000 a coin. It goes up and down. It's very volatile. The key with Bitcoin is don't look at it like a hedge fund person. Buy and hold. It's like better than real estate. So that's what I do. And as more and more large corporations and governments start queuing in on the concept of Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum as a viable form of currency, it's gonna go through the roof. My prediction is within the next 2 years, Bitcoin's gonna go up to $1 million a coin. If you look at the history of Bitcoin in particular, it just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. It's a diminishing asset. It's more and more being considered a store of value. And I think that that's a great form of life insurance. Even if you just get 0.25% of a Bitcoin, you don't have to buy a full coin. To set up a Robinhood account, buy 0.25% and even pay the commission, whatever. In time, that's going to be worth a couple $100,000. So, and remember, you don't have to sell it. Now mortgage companies are allowing you to use it as an asset to qualify for a loan. So you could even get a house and use that as backing for your loan. So it's becoming more and more accepted, but definitely gold, silver, and probably digital currency, I think, are the way to go. Can you guys hear me? I'm not seeing a lot of comments or questions, so if I don't have, hold on one second. So I'll probably get off the show in a minute. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So guys, my arms are getting kind of tired from holding on to this gimbal. Okay, good, 7. So guys, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel and make sure to save. And always, if you can afford it, throw me a super chat when you can afford it. And purchase as many subscriptions as you can. You can buy bulk subscriptions, they're very cheap. And I'll start doing back channel. I became a lawyer on the law study program the way most of our founding fathers did, without going to a traditional law school, which they didn't have until recently. I'm not a real fan of the government-run education system and the government-subsidized education system. So I think that you need to be critical thinkers and free thinkers and think outside the box like our founding fathers did. And I'll start doing some back channel shows where I teach people how to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, and I'll talk about the other states. I also sell a book on my YouTube channel about how to become a lawyer with no law degree or undergrad in the states that cover that. So it's $19.99, and Gloria just put up the link. So it's kind of important that you learn about that, in case you're somebody who wants to be able to protect your rights and learn a little bit more about the law. And once I get enough paid subscribers, I'll start doing back channel shows where I teach you contracts, torts, and criminal law, and then we move into the other subjects. So you can learn about the law and know the law and mean to keep it well, because you never know when the thought police are going to take down my channel. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bone out because I need to talk to my son before we get home. But I love you guys, and I hope you have a terrific, happy Friday, and I'll probably see you this weekend. Hopefully you learned a little bit about the Second Amendment, and you learned about Mike Ehline and what makes me different than most lawyers that you're going to run across in this country. So God bless you guys. Remember, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Semper Fi, do or die. Talk to you soon.